Hello, everybody, and welcome to another scintillating edition of PNSQ Chronicles. This is the vidcast associated with the Pacific Northwest Software Quality Conference. We are excited to have Ms. Gwen Iarussi joining us. Gwen is a longtime participant in our testing community, currently the president of the Association for Software Testing, as well as a director level of quality and other type stuff with Zions Bank. I probably mangled that, but if I did, I'll let you correct it. Gwen, welcome.
Hi, yeah, almost. I'm doing more on the governance side and the risk management side from kind of the tech side of things. So I've been working with the technology leaders to align process and to improve quality outcomes and to measure performance and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit broader than what I'm used to, a little bit different role. Typically, I've had teams historically, but this is the first role in a long time that I haven't had teams, and I'm just working with senior leaders from a whole lot of different teams. So it's a lot of influence. It's a lot of digging and research and analysis and alignment and talking about things that sometimes we like to push under the covers. But, we have to in a highly regulated world like a bank. So yeah, fun times.
Fantastic. Well, good. I'm glad we got that cleared up. And the key reason why Gwen is here is Gwen is going to be featured twice at PNSQC. She has a invited speakers talk, and we'll cover that, of course. And she also has a workshop. So we want to talk about both of them. So which one do you want to start with first?
Let's start with the talk. Last year for PNSQC, I was able to do a poster paper on applying ethical models to the quality realm and testing realm, which is a topic that I think we're not talking enough about in quality spaces. Being in a highly regulated world, for me, ethics is always part of the conversation. With the onset of some of these next-gen technologies and learning models and AI and how we test that and how we utilize it to test and how much faith we put in it and how we integrate with it, it has raised a whole new level of question. It deserves some attention. It's definitely was an interesting research project last year, and it's something that I feel like I'm ready to talk about a little bit grander scale and really pull in some of the learnings I've discovered that kind of play into it. Taking stuff that frankly has been around for a really long time, the philosophies, the theories around a lot of this stuff, and be able to apply them to even the cutting edge technologies that are coming out. Because at the end of the day, it's all about humans. And so that's where our biggest quality factors come into play. It's a fascinating topic. I'm excited to share what I've learned about it and certainly get feedback from the audience as well. Yeah, excited on that one.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely agree in the sense that I know the feeling being in a space for governance since I'm currently working with a company in that exact same sphere. And more times than
Yes.
not, it really does come down to what are the guardrails? How do you know that they're actually working?
Yeah.
How can you confirm that they're working? And who's watching the watchers?
Exactly. It's crazy to watch the conversations happening around it. You've got people who are just willing to hand over the keys to the kingdom. I think part of what we have in terms of a responsibility from a quality perspective is kind of helping organizations understand the risk associated with moving forward unchecked. There's always this desire to move really quickly and to implement the latest technologies and to be ahead of the game when it comes to that stuff. And sometimes, especially with these newer technologies, that's not always the right decision. You have to figure out this really fine balance between innovating and moving quickly and incorporating some of these new technologies and also being very responsible and considering the ethical implications that it has to whatever context you're in. And that's where it gets really interesting because every context is different.
Looking forward to hearing from it, to say the least. And in addition to this, also, you do have a workshop that you're going to be delivering on Monday.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been working on, I'm kind of adapting a lot of the coursework that I did a couple years back around systems thinking and applying it really to our methodologies and the way that we approach testing, both from a technical perspective and from a risk assessment perspective and from an understanding of translating and transforming this whole input versus output thing, which I think we kind of get stuck in occasionally, to more of a what are the dependencies that are required for things to work well, and what are the outcomes that we're expecting, and what does that look like in the context of the larger systems at play. I have worked pretty significantly in enterprise systems and with teams who are working in pretty massive enterprises. And there's a lot of complexity with that. You get hundreds of different systems working together. You have hundreds of different data inputs and outputs, or in some cases, thousands. You have APIs working, and in some cases, you've got monoliths interacting with APIs, and you've got microservices offering up data, and you've got all of these activities happening. And yet, when you talk to some of the test teams, one of the very surprising things was when you asked them to tell you about the systems they were testing, they couldn't actually tell you. So that's kind of the driver for this, is kind of digging into what does it really take? I think we've lost a little bit of the depth of knowledge because of some of the tools that we have now that make it a little bit easier and help us sweep through basic functionality. But we've kind of favored that over really understanding the context of the systems that we're working in and the upstream dependencies, as well as kind of the downstream impacts of the different activities happening. And being able to express those not only from a strategy standpoint, but also make sure that the testing that we're planning for very, very short iterations cover the right things. And that we're not just repeating things that we planned 2 years ago and expecting them to help us ensure quality outcomes for the changes that are happening today. And it's not only just understanding our world, but it's also understanding the other things that are happening in the environment. Because it's not just your team anymore in these complex environments. It's your team and 10 other teams who could be working on different systems, but are tied together as part of a bigger system. It's going to talk about those concepts and give some key ways to kind of take those concepts and apply them to our planning efforts, to our execution, to our prioritization, and sometimes even to our strategies. Sometimes it's looking at it and going, on its own, my system may not require this stuff, but because it interacts with these other systems, then I may need to consider an entirely different scope of testing.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds
It's
like
a lot.
That sounds like a big number, and I'm very curious to check it out. I think that sounds exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing it myself, and we hope that you out there listening to this are getting excited about hearing this and you would like to consider it. So for those of you out there who want to sign up for PNSQC, we encourage you to come on over to pnsqc.org, hit that register button, come join us, and you can hear Gwen talk about this stuff in person. And Gwen, if anybody wants to ask you questions outside of this, how can they get in touch with you?
I am on LinkedIn. You can get a hold of me at gwen@associationforsoftwaretesting.org. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. Whatever you want to share on there. But yeah, on LinkedIn, email, is the best way to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you out there who are listening in to PNSQ Chronicles, thank you so much for coming out and spending some time with us. And we look forward to talking to you again very soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having me.